Each year, thousands of new residents relocate to the Valley of the Sun, making it one of the fastest growing places in America.
When you look at the Valley of the Sun, it's actually Phoenix combined with Tempe and Mesa. They're all just one big metropolis.
The draw is the city's southwestern culture and warm weather. But as the population has swelled, dark shadows have spread.
Along with that growth, we've seen a growth in street gang population. We've seen a growth in our prison systems.
Those prisons are ruled by one vicious gang, Arizona's new Mexican mafia, known as ᴍᴏ.
The ᴍᴏ is probably the most influential and powerful prison gang in the state of Arizona.
ᴍᴏ controls. They control street gangs. They control jail.
ᴍᴏ's criminal empire extends beyond prison walls.
The New Mexican Mafia is virtually unlimited in crimes. Drug money, protection racket. There's a chop shop here in the valley. They're into anything and everything that will make money, including murder.
Somebody did something they weren't supposed to do, so the guns came out.
Johnny Farinas, a.k.a. Sinner. He's a sergeant in the ᴍᴏ. Sinner has spent the last 20 years in and out of prison. He is currently awaiting trial, but won't discuss the charges, which include money laundering and capital murder.
Johnny Farinas, a.k.a. Sinner, I know is viewed by the Phoenix Police Department as among the most capable and ruthless killers to have ever worn the tattoo.
Sinner was raised in the barrios of Phoenix.
I was a kid growing up in a housing project. What brought me into the game was putting money in my pocket. I was selling cocaine.
By 18, he was carrying a gun for protection. When a rival tried to muscle in on his corner, Sinner didn't hesitate.
We were hustling, man. That was my spot. That was my neighborhood. Dude came in the way. I shot him to get him out of the way.
The victim survived, but Sinner was sent to prison for aggravated assault. He quickly learned ᴍᴏ was running the house.
I got exposed to that life. Yes, I did. I could relate to their views, and I thought it was just cause.
To ᴍᴏ, killing is currency.
There's only two kinds of people in a correctional setting. That's predators and victims, and these guys viewed themselves as the predators and everybody else were their prey.
More than 50 murders, both inside prison and out, are linked to the ᴍᴏ.
We know there's homicides out there, probably dozens of them, that are attributable to the ᴍᴏ in one form or another, and we'll never make those cases.
Some people don't pay attention just how much we got people's lives in our own hands. Mafia got power, they can destroy anybody's life they want to.
Loco asked to have his identity concealed for his protection. But he admits to his crimes.
Murder, organized crime, and possession of dangerous contraband. He tortured and killed a man.
His record shows his commitment to ᴍᴏ.
Either juvenile to adult. I've been here all my life. That's what I know. As soon as you go to prison, you know, there's nothing you can do. The prison, ᴍᴏ runs the show every yard. So I decided to get involved.
Loco's loyalty earned him control of a crew in Phoenix. He quickly developed a violent reputation.
When you're given the streets like I was given all of Phoenix at one time. I was given a whole list of names of people to follow me, right? We got work to put in tonight. Get a crew, go over there, murder these people, take their shit. Anybody comes for you, crush you.
It's a mindset that has no regard for life. It's continually looking for prey. Those of us that don't belong to the new MA are potential victims for them.
New MA's strict code prohibits killing women or children. But there are exceptions to every rule.
They're willing to spill blood, they're willing to take care of business.
The gang often targets law enforcement.
But at the end of the day, I have enough power to take him out the game.
January 2000, Lovington, New Mexico. 52-year-old corrections officer Joe Moreno was a family man, but he led a double life. Joe and his oldest son, Stephen, were legally buying salvaged cars and selling them on the black market to a chop shop run by new MA associates.
Needed from a salvage vehicle was the VIN plate from the dashboard. Then car thieves steal a similar model, similarly equipped vehicle in Arizona, harvest the VIN plate from the salvage, put it on the good car, and then sell it at top dollar.
While police were investigating the chop shop, Joe became a suspect. His name was listed as a potential witness. It became his death notice.
The consequences are swift. If you're stupid enough to try to cross one of these guys, you can find yourself dead.
January 12th. Joe was at home with his wife, daughters, son, and grandchildren.
Joe Moreno, Sr., had just gotten home from his job, and he had had the time to take off his shirt and go to the kitchen for coffee.
Two men burst through the front door. They carried pistols and were wearing masks. The women and children were forced to lie on the floor. Joe was dragged to the living room at gunpoint.
The assassin held a 9mm semi-automatic handgun above the left ear of Mr. Moreno and fired. He was instantly killed.
Looking for Joe's 20-year-old son, Stephen, the second gunman ran down the hall to a back bedroom and kicked open the door. Stephen's younger brother was in the room.
There was 16-year-old Joe Moreno, Jr., eating Frito pie and watching ESPN. He never had a chance to get up. He took 2 .22 rounds in the chest.
On the way out, the gunman fired 2 more rounds, point blank, into Joe Sr.'s head. Mrs. Moreno called 911, while her youngest son fought for his life.
They have only one rule, and that is do what you're supposed to do or pay the ultimate price.
You mess up, you're gonna get hit in the head. Plain and simple.
Phoenix, Arizona. This town was once the wild, wild west. Home to pioneers and prospectors, cowboys and outlaws.
The Tombstone territory. A lot of the historical Western figures either ended up here or started here.
And Arizona's new Mexican mafia, or new MA, is trying to make sure it stays that way.
Shoot 'em up, bang, bam. It's not unusual to have several shootings a night. I guess in a sense, the spirit of the Wild West is still alive and well.
(1975). Arizona's prisons were dominated by La Familia, a loosely organized Hispanic gang. In 1979, longtime gangster Pete Moreno aka Pete Boy, entered the Arizona prison system. A shot caller from California's Mexican Mafia prison gang. He brought his own brand of thug life to Arizona.
Pete Boy was schooled in how they take care of business in the California prison system. As soon as Pete Boy got into our system, he took care of business.
Structure had to be built. If it's working over there in another state, start working here.
Pete Boy impressed La Familia with his iron will and ability to lead. Soon, most converted to the Mexican Mafia.
They were aggressive in terms of trying to run the yards. They run protection rackets, they control the drugs. So they want to be the kingpins on the yards.
By the 1980s, the Mexican Mafia had grown to 40 strong.
They were extorting inmates. If your wife doesn't bring these drugs in, well, we're going to hurt you. Or they would say, we've got people on the street that will go take care of your wife or children.
Prison officials moved to contain the gang, confining Pete Boy and other high-ranking members to solitary confinement. The leaders no longer had access to the gang, but it didn't stop their operations.
Even though those leaders were in lockdown, they were still telling those on the yard what to do and requiring them to send proceeds of whoever they were victimizing to them in lockdown.
Lower-ranking members began to resent the higher-ups.
They got tired of being puppets for those guys in segregation.
They decided it was time for a change.
Somebody has to be the shot caller in the yard, or somebody has to be the leader on the yard. So something had to grow.
The Mexican Mafia assembled a crew of deadly enforcers called internal security.
Internal security were basically spies feeding them information on what was going on, who was paying what, who wasn't paying, who needed to be extorted or intimidated or assaulted.
Prison officials began referring to the younger opposition as the new MA. The name stuck.
They're the old, he's the new. Ultimately, the groups themselves adopted the same terms for one another.
The new MA recruited more soldiers, including Pitbull. Pitbull asked that his identity be concealed for his own protection.
The new guys started recruiting people, telling them, hey, look, we're going to start this new thing, but we got to take out the old ones.
Every time a leader of the original Mexican Mafia was released to general population, he became a target.
The first hit was basically one of the top dogs for the old MA. Day before he was going home, one of the new ranking ones came in, stabbed him, and killed him. And he bragged about it. He's like, yeah, I started the war.
When inmates transferred to other Arizona facilities, so did the war. Their orders were to strike on sight.
It was basically anybody who saw him could take him down. A lot of guys worrying about whether they're going to wake up the next day.
It was hit on sight. As soon as you got a chance to hit a member on either faction, they were required to go for it.
The war between the new MA and the original Mexican Mafia continued for 20 years.
We've had riots, we've had fights, you know? I don't really want to get into date and times and who was stuck and who wasn't stuck.
By 1995, the new MA controlled the yards.
The numbers of the old MA dwindled down to 11, so the new MA basically won out. Power in numbers, and the new MA had the numbers.
We earned it, not just by one incident, but over the years, something that was built up.
ᴍᴏ was now 100 strong. The Arizona Department of Corrections, or ADC, enacted a new policy, locking all verified gang members in solitary confinement.
That takes them off the yard where they can't communicate or control what's going on in the yard, and it isolates them. It was a monstrous hit.
I'm locked up in a cell by myself. You know, obviously it's hard to communicate or utilize, you know, what I've worked for and enforce my beliefs.
ADC's policy put a stranglehold on the new MA's operations. It also made Director Terry Stewart a target.
All the gangs who are normally fighting for control of the yards came together. The New Mexican Mafia and the Mexican Mafia and the Aryan Brotherhood said, we've got to do something, we've got to get rid of that policy. The New Mexican Mafia stepped up and said, we will do it.
November 1997. A member of New MA refused to carry out a hit, earning him 23 stab wounds with a prison shank. He survived, and in protective custody, told authorities something shocking.
His life was in danger from his own gang, and as a result, he told them, I want to tell you about this particular big deal we're working on.
He told the ADC that 2 new MA soldiers on the outside had been tailing Terry Stewart for months.
There was a restaurant called the Oaxaca. Terry Stewart was known to go eat there.
They rented an apartment that could view that restaurant and watched for a couple of months my goings and comings.
The assassins had followed Stewart into the restaurant, prepared to kill.
They had their hands on their weapons, walking towards the table that Terry Stewart was sitting at.
But their plan was thwarted.
By the grace of God, a couple of uniformed officers came in and sat down to eat, and so they couldn't take care of it then. If those Phoenix police officers hadn't chose to walk in at that point, I would have been a victim of the violence of the New Mexican Mafia. It was truly chilling.
Police arrested 3 new MA members, charging them with conspiracy to commit murder. But the message was received. The deadly arm of the new MA could reach anyone, anywhere in Arizona.
The New Mexican Mafia made the single most dangerous domestic threat to the Phoenix Valley, period, without question.
People die on the streets. All that happens up there is lives get lost left and right.
Phoenix, Arizona. The Valley of the Sun is home to the New Mexican Mafia. And those who wear the gang's sun tattoo run a deadly racket.
If I have to hit you, whack you, pop you, however, I'm gonna do it.
Inmates in Arizona know that New MA has absolute authority.
Them owns the yards. You know what I mean? That is their yard. You come in thinking that it's not their yard, you're not gonna live. You're not gonna survive. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's their rules.
We have our own little rules and our own little guidelines that we go by. As long as you don't break them rules, you'll be all right. If you do, we're gonna come in and step in.
The gang has a strict hierarchy.
The brothers, they got a whole different structure of their own. It's like the military.
All Hispanics in prison are considered part of the Brotherhood, La Raza.
La Raza is my gente, my people, you know, my culture.
When it comes to the Raza, you have to be there like during a riot. And that's the only rule they really have to follow, and then follow all the regular structure. Then you got another level, which is Skino. You might beat up a rat, or you might somehow help the brothers a little bit, but you're not committed to them.
To move to a higher rank, an inmate must prove his worth.
These young guys that aspire to become a new MA member, they're going to run them through a number of different tests to see if they have heart.
You have to spill blood for them. You've heard the old thing about blood in, blood out? Generally, the blood here is not your own.
I make money. I put more work in. I've done work. I've made my bones.
Esquinas are commanded to carry out assaults. Those whose efforts are deemed worthy are voted in as carnales, or full members. Only full members experience true carnalismo.
Carnalismo means my brotherhood. That's what it means.
It means once you get in, you're in for life. There's no turning back.
Carnales enjoys special privileges.
A member has jurisdiction over where he's at. You don't have to go to the head for everything. We have a faith within each other to do what's right.
Members control drug deals and pay the leaders.
It's called respects. You gotta pay 25% tax for you to be allowed to make money on the yard. Yeah, I'm just a soldier, right? I take care of my sergeant lieutenant. My sergeant lieutenant takes care of certain brothers as well.
Only full members are allowed to brand themselves with the sun patch, the symbol of the new MA.
The symbol is the sun with the sunbursts going one way like a blade, like a knife, and then the other way they're like little hooks, the two ends, the skull on top.
That's my patch. That's something that I've earned as being someone that sticks up for his raza. Someone that directs or tries to guide his raza.
New MA gangsters alter their tattoos to conceal their affiliation and avoid Arizona's mandatory lockdown for all gang members.
They'll put a double M into a pattern on their body, try to disguise it within their different tattoos. A lot of times they'll use a double line with 3 dots to distinguish the number 13, which is the letter M in the Hispanic alphabet that means, you know, mafia.
The black rose tattoo must be bought with blood.
To earn that privilege, you have to murder someone.
And it must be witnessed by another new MA member.
They use the kill to basically hold it over their head to keep them in the fold, you know, and basically tell them, hey, we know about this, you know, you turn on us, we can turn on you.
Only killers can rise to the rank of La Mesa, the Committee of Captains. They consult with the chief, or jefe. The Mesa and the jefe make decisions about rules and regulations, drugs and death.
The Mesa will go through everything, take it to the jefe. Jefe makes the last shot.
When the Mesa orders a hit, it's kill or be killed.
I gotta do you or I'm gonna get done. Well, if it's me or you, you're dead.
It takes more than muscle to make your bones.
Killers come a dime a dozen. Everybody's in for killing or putting work in. You can't just be a killer and get into the mix, right? I can't just run around the yard, stab everybody and be made. They educate you, they want you to learn how to make money.
Members are also required to take lessons in Aztec history and ceremony.
Them are things that deal with our culture, our ancestry from Mexico. We take pride in some of their beliefs and their views.
New MA gang member, Loco, conducts ceremonies based on the rituals of Aztec warriors.
During special times or preparation for war, you fast for 4 or 5 days, and then you put your war paint on, And we have different war symbols. You make cuts on your arms, down your shin, behind your ears, underneath each testicle. And you collect up all the blood from all that, and you put it into your water with me, you drink it.
New MA members must study the Aztec language.
More of the people are speaking Nahuatl, which is the original language of the Aztecs. They do that so they can talk without people that aren't a part of the set knowing what's being said. ᴍᴏᴜ means window, which means glass, with me, crystal methamphetamine. ᴡᴏʟᴟ, which is Nahuatl for black, we use for heroin. ᴡᴏᴜ, which is smoke, means either cigarette or weed.
Arizona's Department of Corrections, or ADC, struggles to keep up with New MA's changing codes. Messages are sent through phone calls and prison visits, even by defense attorneys on the take.
They'll pass the message exactly who they want to go to out in the street. They'll do it in what they call kites.
You can be taken off with a stroke of a pen.
Members of New MA who break rules can find themselves green-lighted.
Life and death can be a pack of cigarettes. Green lights can be put on people for a carton of cigarettes. It's a different culture entirely.
Sinner, a New MA sergeant, discussed gang business over a prison phone that was wiretapped. His coded messages were easily interpreted, and he is thought to have been green-lighted.
Sinner, snitch. Yeah, and the way he did snitch, it's dry snitch. Not just because he told, but because he told on one of his own. They're gonna put you out, you're gonna get dealt with.
Sinner won't discuss whether he is on the list.
We're a group of men, and we all bump heads one time or another or whatever.
The MA runs the show. And sure, we get challenged at times, but we always win.
Phoenix, Arizona, 1997. The New Mexican Mafia, or New MA, had spread its power from its birthplace in Arizona's prisons to the streets. The gang was targeting high-ranking corrections officials and anyone else who crossed them.
Violence is a way of life for these folks, as there's really just one rule, and that is do what you're expected to do or die.
And they were devising new ways to make a dirty dollar.
The New Mexican Mafia were prolific in the drug trade, auto theft. They were alleged to even be involved in human smuggling. They were taking advantage of everything that was going down in the Phoenix area.
New MA began doing business with a small but violent Arizona-based crime ring, the Cisneros brothers. The brothers, Luis and Felipe, ran garages that fronted chop shops, trafficking in stolen cars. They also dealt cocaine, methamphetamine, and heroin. The Cisneros brothers were New MA's kind of criminals.
They got involved with a couple people that were MA out here, and they joined the team and made a lot of money. And as a result, they're part of our family in some sense.
What I can tell you about them brothers is they're good people. They're good individuals. They're my homies.
And they formed the perfect crime syndicate with New MA.
What they were basically doing was giving the New MA coke to go do dirt.
What better group to hire? The New MA are killers. They've killed inside prison. They've killed on the outside.
Phoenix area police began looking into the Cisneros brothers' ties to New MA. During the investigation, an informant agreed to give evidence about one of their chop shops. But before he could testify, the informant was shot 3 times. The man survived and was relocated to Houston for his own protection. A year and a half later, he was found dead in his car. Photos of stolen vehicles on his lap.
He was killed in a parking lot of a Jack-in-the-Box by gunshot, an absolute execution in broad daylight.
5 months later, a second potential witness went missing. His car was found in a South Phoenix neighborhood, along with some gruesome evidence.
His green Cadillac was found abandoned in an apartment complex, and there was a sufficient amount of blood and brain matter for a medical investigator to conclude that no human being could survive.
When a third witness turned up dead, authorities knew they were in a losing battle.
Every time they would approach a witness to roll, the next thing they knew is that that witness would be murdered.
In all, 6 potential witnesses to the ᴍᴏ and Cisneros crime syndicate were slaughtered over a 4-year period.
The death of each of these people ensured that they would not testify. And we know that had they testified and told the truth, they would have incriminated Louis Cisneros and his entire operation. It was murder, methamphetamine, and motor vehicles.
But the ᴍᴏ was just getting started. January 2000. A Phoenix area gang task force wiretapped a phone call between Luis Cisneros and a member of ᴍᴏ.
Le estaba hablando, se recuerda de a mi novia, la que tengo allá que quería saber si trabaja en las mañanas o en las tardes, no sabe.
Luis Cisneros referred to the need to visit his girlfriend who works at the casino in New Mexico to deliver her a belated Christmas present.
The ᴍᴏ member said he would try to learn the woman's work schedule.
La ponen en veces en la mañana o en veces la ponen en la tarde. Pero yo sí puedo saber, pero nomás si se puede hacer así para caerle así nomás, para que le tengo el regalo de Christmas y todo.
The police feared this present might be the barrel of a gun.
We got these sly little names that nobody knows what's going on. We always try to come one up on the cops so they can't understand what we're talking about.
Before the code could be broken, 2 ᴍᴏ soldiers invaded the New Mexico home of correctional officer and former Cisneros Brothers associate, Joe Moreno. They forced the Morenos to the ground at gunpoint, then executed Joe in front of his terrified family. The gunmen searched the house for their other target, Joe's oldest son, Stephen. Instead, they found Joe Jr. and shot him twice in the chest.
The man on his way out of the house also delivered 2 rounds under the chin of Mr. Moreno. As kind of a coup de grace, they were in the house for no longer than 2 minutes.
Joe Sr. died instantly. 16-year-old Joe Jr. was rushed to the hospital, but died on the emergency room table.
Joe Jr. was a sophomore in high school, was the undisputed star of Lovington's football team. He was the brightest light in that little town. That kid was and would have continued to be somebody.
Oh well, it's business as usual. Somebody's life really has no value to somebody that just doesn't care. They don't have respect for anybody's family about putting somebody in the ground.
The gang task force later realized that the wiretap of Cisneros had been a coded order to kill Joe and his older son, Stephen. The price for the hit, $5,000 per person.
They found out that he was a potential witness up there. That's when the New Mexican Mafia came in. That's when the Christmas package was delivered.
September 19, 2002. A federal grand jury finally indicted the Cisneros brothers, along with 3 new MA leaders. 4 years later, all made plea agreements. 2 new MA members and Luis Cisneros received life sentences. Luis's brother Felipe got 18 years. But it didn't stop the flow of fresh blood.
Take it for a ride, boom, they just disappeared. There was a lot of people that got done like that. I mean, a lot.
Phoenix, 2006. The Cisneros brothers and members of Arizona's most powerful prison gang, New MA, had been put behind bars for the murders of Joe Moreno and his son, Joe Jr. But the bloodshed never stopped. October 2007. Loco had been out of prison for a year when a new MA soldier approached him. The soldier claimed his cousin had been raped and asked Loco and 2 other new MA brothers to help avenge her. The alleged rapist was tracked down. The gangsters tied him up and forced him into their truck, then presented him to the soldier's cousin for identification.
She needed ID, make sure we had the right person. She was terrified. And, you know what I mean? I was there, I even held her. I'm thinking now I have to hold her. Like, hey, it's all right, me, huh?
The man was driven to an isolated location and murdered.
He was stabbed to death and then shot in the head, submerged him in water in the canal bank. The body was taken care of and all that, and everybody was okay.
But someone talked. 8 months later, Loco was arrested by Phoenix police. At trial, the woman who was raped testified. For the first time, Loco realized why she had been so afraid.
The night everything went down, I thought she was crying and shaking and all that because she was scared of this guy that raped her and this and that, right? But in reality, as I look back, she was scared to death of us.
Loco was sentenced to 16 years for his role in the murder. Since then, efforts to shut down New MA have done little.
The New Mexican Mafia leadership will rise. It will be decapitated. Someone else will rise. It is a war between the New Mexican Mafia and law enforcement in Arizona.
New MA's power is growing. They are now major players in the drug import game, getting most of their supply from Mexico.
It's a rugged area, rugged terrain. It doesn't have the manpower to police it. It's just a matter of ordering up dope, running the dope through the international boundary line into their stash houses here in Phoenix.
Arizona is the money spot. You have heroin flying through, marijuana, cocaine, methamphetamine, and it's right here.
The vicious Sinaloa cartel has created a dangerous alliance with New MA.
What's happening in Mexico with the drug cartels, where entire towns and cities are being terrorized by how they take care of business down there. Marry that with the criminal ingenuity of some members of the New MA, the violence potential there is astounding.
What the cartel do on the other side is their business. But once they cross that line, it's New MA who controls. There's no doubt about that. It offers them an opportunity of building a criminal enterprise far greater than what we see today.
For the gang, it's just good business.
It's a win-win situation. So you bring Arizona in, now you got a starting point for everything, a lot of distribution.
It's just one of many criminal connections they're willing to make.
Aryan Brotherhood, Hells Angels, other groups that we would have never expected have gone to New MA to get drugs. They've kind of become the Walgreens for other gangs.
ᴑᴏ's alliance with the drug cartels has cleared the way for an unexpected reconciliation with the gang's oldest enemy, the old MA, or Mexican Mafia.
For 2 decades, this was going on. Bodies flying, people being assaulted. All of a sudden, we start picking up about this truce that existed.
The bad blood that we have in California, Cisneros brothers fixed a lot of that. They opened the gate right there for my higher-ranking members to move in and fix that.
Now, these sworn enemies have called a truce in the interest of doing business.
Let's say a price of a pound of weed here. If you buy in bulk, it's like $250 a pound. So you buy 100 pounds. You send them to California, now the price of that weed just quadrupled. California is just being smart.
For ᴑᴏ, the backing of the Mexican Mafia means their power now extends all across America.
Pretty much anybody that's California's enemies are our enemies now. But we have pretty good united front.
Yeah, we bat for each other. But that's the objective, that's the goal, is to be there to support one another.
Though he's rumored to be on ᴑᴏ's hit list, Sinner says he's still down with the gang.
My mindset from the gate is for my people, and I still love my people. Now, I will always be here for my people. My raza.
Pitbull says the stakes are too high and that he's done with ᴑᴏ. He believes their spirit of La Raza is dead.
Arizona's in a big mess. They'll get rid of somebody that's loyal for somebody that's putting money on their books. A lot of them that are in it just to get high for free. So how can you be loyal to something when the only thing you're loyal to is a needle in your arm?
Loco says he's not going to stop working for ᴑᴏ.
I love the game, love the people. You know what I mean? I've given my life to this game. I just know that if you want to eat with the big boys, it's best to be on top.
Loco doesn't see an end to the terror.
At the end of the day, everybody knows